Now picture this, at the age of 29 years, he is invited to the United States of America to address a historic civil rights movement rally together with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. In his mid-20s, he is elected the spokesperson for the African continent at the International Confederation for Free Trade. He is the world's most celebrated labor leader from Africa, even before Kenya attains her independence. So who was he? What was his vision and vision? The inimitable Tom Mboya. This is his untold story. My name is Duncan Haimba. Born on August 15, 1930, Tom Joseph Mboya rose from a humble background to become an enigmatic, colossal, and inimitable labor unionist and political leader whose short stint in the political arena continues to mesmerize many to date. Just who was Tom Mboya? Tom Mboya is said to have been a politician well ahead of his time, one who had great intellect and an orator par excellence.
Always stated that our independence cannot be complete if in fact there is any part of the world where the black man is not accorded his rightful position in.
He was a trade unionist who gained international recognition way before he plunged into the murky waters of politics.
First and foremost, I must tell you that Tom Mboya is the most world celebrated labor leader from Africa. Tom was a genius because in his 20s, he was speaking for Africa at the International Confederation of Free Trade Unions. He moved from there on elective position representing the whole continent. I've been the vice president of that organization, but Tom was specifically a spokesperson for Africa during those days. And from there, I think at the age of 25, he went to Ruskin College. He was in the trade union movement, mark you. He went at Ruskin College, Oxford, to do his course in labor relations and management of trade unions, including an access to economics. He was an economist of very high caliber.
Tom Mboya institutionalized the labor movement not only here in Kenya, but across the continent, and rose to become the first African to sit on the International Confederation of Free Trade Union Board. Even before most African countries gained independence, Mboya had already become a household name on the international arena. 1959 was arguably the year that marked the watershed period of Mboya's life. It was the year that revealed to the world just who Tom Mboya was. In April that year, the trade unionist visited Washington, D.C. at the invitation of the American Committee on Africa. It is during the visit that he secured scholarships for East African students to study in various universities, courtesy of the African American Students Foundation. He successfully raised funds to support students from East Africa. At the time, there was no single university in Kenya. He used his connections to organize the famous Airlift Africa project. About 800 students from East Africa were awarded scholarships between 1959 and 1963. The first airlift had 81 students, among them the late Barack Obama Sr., father to former U.S. President Barack Obama. The late Nobel Peace Laureate Professor Wangari Maathai was also among the beneficiaries. It was called the famous Flight of 81.
It was 1959 when I learned that there was a program between Honorable Mboya and the Kennedy of the United States of America. I didn't know what to do when I was taking my studies. I inquired the program. I was told it's an arrangement between Honorable Mboya, late Mboya, with President Kennedy, that children or students who did not have an opportunity to continue with their education here in Kenya can apply from American colleges and universities. And when they are admitted, the Kennedy's family will airlift the students to America. It so happened that I had just finished my London matriculation examination, of which I was accepted by the same program to go to America.
Reverend Daniel Mbai was among the lucky 81.
The program was so successful that it didn't gain the endorsements of singer Harry Belafonte, baseball great Jackie Robinson, and actor Sidney Poitier, who lent their names on a letter asking Americans to donate money to help Africans to secure travel to America. This program was called Airlift America in 1959. In 1959, they brought, separately from the 81 original students, there was a young man who came to school in Hawaii, and his name was Barack Obama Sr. On April the 11th, 1959, Tom Mboya not only marched with Dr. King, Tom Mboya spoke at a Dr. King rally. And on May 13th, 1959, the SCLC and Dr. Martin Luther King sponsored Tom Mboya an African Freedom Dinner. Also in 1959, Tom Mboya was so popular in America that Howard University awarded him an honorary doctorate degree.
But it was in April same year, 1959, when the trade unionist perhaps surprised the country, the continent, and maybe Americans as well, when he was invited to address a historic civil rights movement rally together with Martin Luther King Jr. in Washington, D.C., the seat of power of the free world.
Than the eradication of poverty, disease, and ignorance. And in this context, you and ourselves are all engaged in the same struggle that can aptly be summarized in terms of a struggle for political freedom, for economic opportunity, and for human dignity. This is my message to you. And I and millions of other people join you today in solidarity for the success of the struggle in which we are all involved.
His 1959 exploits would spill over to 1960 when he joined the then Massachusetts Senator John Fitzgerald Kennedy's presidential campaign, popularly known as John F. Kennedy. It is said his involvement in the civil rights movement rally a year earlier was crucial in the U.S. presidential election that year. J.F. Kennedy's resolution to support the Airlift project was a major issue in that election and possibly a factor in his victory, given the vote from the African Americans. This is said to have been on the 26th July 1960 when Tom Mboya met Democratic presidential nominee Senator John F. Kennedy, becoming arguably the most significant African to influence American history, culture, and politics.
John F. Kennedy agreed in July of 1960 that since they could not find sponsorship, he did not want to let these scholarships go to waste.
After successfully sending the first batch of students to the US in 1959, the legendary trade unionist associates had to reach out to then US Vice President Richard Nixon for more help. But the question many asked and continue to wonder about is his connection to Martin Luther King Jr. How did they meet?
Martin Luther King sponsored Tom Mboya an African Freedom Dinner. Also in 1959, Tom Mboya was so popular in America that Howard University awarded him an honorary doctorate degree. Tom Mboya was a part of the American Civil Rights Movement, and the American Civil Rights Movement was a part of Africa.
His presence on the international scene had been felt, his great oratory skills had. With that, he also found himself at the forefront in pitching for his own country, Kenya, to be granted independence from British colonial rule at the Legislative Council in Lancaster, 1960.